I think the recording just started. Um, so hello everyone. My name is Luo Zhongyu. I'm the president of the Basuria Association, and today we have the honor to welcome Dr. Nagao. He was a research fellow at Hudson Institute, and he's an expert on defense strategy, foreign policy, and defense alliance in the Indo-Pacific region. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
So I just you are a very busy person and it's late in Japan, so I just want to get into the questions right now. So I understand that you are an active advocate for the alliance between for a closer relationship between Japan and India, and you often quote Prime Minister Abe's words that a strong India is in the best interest of Japan, and a strong Japan is in the best interest of India. However, recently we see that the military activities in the Indo-Pacific region, India seems to be less enthusiastic. It seems to be more reluctant to participate than, say, Japan, Australia, Philippines, United States, and so on. Do you think India would, in the future, take a bigger role in the Indo-Pacific region to counter China's aggression, or do you think it is still something that India is not sure yet? Thank you.
In case of India, concerning about China, it is clear because for a long time, since 1962 especially, India has suffered China's provocation. So in 1960s, it has war between India and China. Yes. And in 1967, the two incidents, the Chola incident, the Natura incident has happened. Nearly some hundred soldiers sacrificed their lives, was injured. And in 1980s, 1975, there was a crisis, ambush has happened from the China side, and the Indian soldier has died. And in 1980s, when China's troops entered Slumdog 2, India reacts as a massive size military exercises, and tension has risen between two. Right. So, and since the 2011, the India-China border has continually China's provocation has happened repeatedly. And especially in the 2020, since the 1975, it was the first time Indian soldier has sacrificed their lives, 20 sacrificed and 76 injured, in total 96. Right. So under such kind of situation, India continues to worry about China. It is clear. So if we worry about India's will, India has a strong will to resist China's provocation. It is very clear. But at the same time, because of this border situation, this is serious. That's why India cannot show the too strong stance toward China, because it will lead China's more strong reaction. So that's why India has a strong will. But because of this, India hesitates to show advertise their will to resist against China. So that's what happened. So when we check the Quad, United States, Japan, Australia, these countries do not share the land border with China. So once China decides to attack the Quad, in this case, the most easiest place is India, not other three countries. That's why India cannot provoke China in any means. So that's why if India do not have India's action is not looks like aggressive against China, it does not mean India do not have the will to resist China. That is the first thing we need to realize. But at the same time, in the long run, India cannot escape from the situation. Right. China will restrict India's rights. Because if the India India's development is faster than China, and India catch up to China's power, and in this case, India will be the rival of China. So is this comfortable for China to accept it? This is not. So that's why it is natural for China to restrict India's rights. That's why in the long run, the India-China relation is not so bright. there is a possibility the worst case scenario could happen between India and China. So, and to avoid such kind of worst case scenario, of course, effort is needed, but at the same time, India cannot underestimate the current Chinese government's will to restrict India's rights. So that is current situation. So when we check about India's will, in the short term, India is facing the provocation. In the long run, India will face China's prevention to rise of India. So that's why India is serious, I think, very serious, I think, in this case, view from the strategic situation. So we cannot doubt India's will to resist China.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. That's actually a very inspiring voice, especially if we consider India's border issue with China. I think India, it's in its best interest to keep it low key, at least for now. So my second question is, in your article, is the U.S. prepared for the defense of Taiwan? You talk about the possible invasion and the possible invasion of China, Chinese invasion of Taiwan, and a possible U.S.-China conflict in the Indo-Pacific region. Many people doubt that, or many people are thinking that the best time for China to strike is around 2024 or early 2025, where major players in the Indo-Pacific region will have their presidential or general elections. Elections in Taiwan and in the US will be in 2024, and in Japan and in India and in Australia will be in 2025. Do you think that is the most sensitive time and the most critical time for China to strike, or do you still think in your article that 2027 will still be the time?
Okay, so when China will invade Taiwan, it's a little controversial issue because, but view from the China's remark or China's attitude toward Taiwan, if the China believe they can do that or they can win, anytime they can do that.
Okay.
Anytime they will do that. So in this case, matter is firstly capability, and secondly the timing. So will is fixed, and capability, this is movable, and timing also movable. And the most experts pointed out, if the Xi Jinping want to continue the fourth term as a president of China, Chinese Communist Party, in this case, Xi Jinping need to prove he is valuable as a leader of China. Yes. But generally, the second term is the last term. So third term currently he entered. This is exceptional. Fourth term is more exceptional. That's why before he enters the fourth term, he need to achieve something special.
Okay.
So that's why the people worry about the situation in Taiwan. So this is related to timing. But when we talk about the capability, that is also that is also the situation people should worry. Because, for example, the think tank in Sweden, SIPRI, pointed out from 2011 to 2020, China increased their military expenditure 76%. And during the same period, the United States decreased 10%. Of course, this SIPRI's figure indicated that the United States spent nearly 2.7 to 3 times bigger military expenditure than China. But because the United States need to deal with many problems in the world, for example, Russia's aggression in Ukraine or the problem in the Middle East, that's why regionally, when we check the capability, China can advantage in some area. That's why, especially the area around Taiwan, China can invade Taiwan or China can blockade Taiwan. Such kind of the situation could happen if China prepared enough as a capability. So 2025, 2027, these years, Of course, just before the fourth term of Xi Jinping and view from the capability regionally, they can take the advantage. That's why there is a possibility they can do that, they believe. That is a concerning point. The moving point is because we know such kind of the disadvantage for us could happen. We also increase our military expenditure or increase the deployment. So in the simulation, it could happen. But this is not meaning it will happen 100%.
Yes.
So we try to prevent such kind of situation now, and so will come in next some years. That is the current situation. So no one can say it will happen 100%, but there is a possibility it could happen. That's why we must deter such kind of situation.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, and I think the United States is constantly using the word deterrence. They want to deter China from a physical invasion of Taiwan. Well, that would be catastrophic not only for all nations in the Indo-Pacific, but for China itself. And just like Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And just go off on that point, and I think recently there is a post-Russian forum held in Japan. Actually, I think it was just today or yesterday. There are many nations within Russia now advocate for the disintegration of Russia and the independence of states within the Russian Federation. Do you think if China's invasion of Taiwan is to come, do you think the disintegration of China is the good way to solve China problem, or do you think there are other possibilities? Thank you.
Integration or disintegration depend on their governing capability. For example, the Soviet Union has separated the 15 countries, even if they spend 45 years as an integrated country. Yes. Why? Because Soviets lose the power to maintain it. So because they lose competition with United States, so that's why it has happened. So big country face such kind of situation naturally. And especially in the authoritarian regimes, how to find the successor is always a matter of concern, because during the strong leader maintains their power, they crack down all of the rivals. So when they try to find the successor, except yes man, there is no other candidate. So in this case, yes man do not mean they are the good successor of this leader view from the capability, because they have the capability, they can be the rival. Yeah. So this is a controversial situation, ironical situation. So that's why this kind of authoritarian regime will face this similar situation after Xi Jinping, who will be the leader, after the Putin, who will be the leader. And in this case, if they cannot find a good leader, there is a possibility that many countries under the regime will want to leave from this country. So that's why the integration, disintegration, such kind of situation could happen. So in case of the Putin, in case of the Xi Jinping, what will happen is a little controversial, because they are compete with the United States. Right. When we check the U.S. history last 250 years, this is about 250 years, you can imagine that 250 years ago, the United States just one of the colony of the British Empire. But 250 years later, we can see the only one superpower in the world. And during the process, U.S. always compete with rival and defeat rivals, and all of the rival has gone, including Soviet Union, including Germany, including Japan. Yes. So under such kind of situations, even if the United States say that China is a strategic competitor, or Russia is a very big problem, competitor, challenger against the United States, if the Russia and China can survive such kind of situation, it took the first miracle in the last 250 years. That's why there is a possibility that this Russia or China will not become the current Russia and China. So this integration could happen if the Russia's fate is Soviet Union type. And if China face losing government capability, in this case, China could be this integration like the Soviet Union. And so that could happen as one of the scenario after US win the competition with these countries. So that is just possibility, but at the same time, from the last 250 years history, yes, it could happen, I believe.
So you think that the disintegration of China could happen after the United States win the competition with China?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I believe the United States will win because capability, because of United States is a system. United States has a system to win the competition. This is their one kind of culture. Competition is very important factor in the United States. Compared to other countries, that part is very strong in the United States. Competition is very important part of the culture. That's why the view from the capitalism US is powerful, and so that's why the US can win in the competition with others. So, but at the same time, that's why I believe in the competition with China or Russia, US has the advantage because this is the US arena.
Got it. All right. Thank you very much. That's all the question I have. I know it's very late in Japan, so thank you so much for agreeing to have this interview with me. Hopefully we can keep in touch in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much.